Hey there, everybody, it's me, stepping back from a quick little break. I took the weekend off. Well, my computer took the weekend off, is probably the better way to put it. But we're back now with another episode of Stefan Reads Line News, which is, of course, the segment on this here YouTube channel where I, Stefan Tetsu, represented by Yoshimoto Kogyo, the biggest entertainment conglomerate in Japan, read the Line News tab on my Line News, on my Line app. Line is, of course, the biggest messaging app in Japan. Happens to have its own news aggregate service now. So, that's what I read. Today is August 22nd, 2022. Lots of 8s, lots of 2s today. And I'm doing this a little bit later than usual. I overslept, kind of. Anyways, let's look at the news. So if this is your first time listening, there are 2 rows of news stories, and then the actual news headlines in between those. The 2 rows of news stories, I should say, are complete and total fluff pieces for the most part, with like pictures and then headlines, normally meant to draw you in to read some like summary of a TV show, which we'll get to later in this episode, but sometimes it does give you the news. Like today, the first top news story of the day is an article about how COVID-19 spreads. I'm not sure why Japan's getting to this now. It's been 2.5 years at this point. But yeah, Japan is still experiencing one of its worst COVID waves yet. I think yesterday I saw that Japan has the second highest COVID death rate in the world right now. And of course, yesterday the news also broke that the Prime Minister of Japan caught COVID. And of course, the borders are still closed to prevent Japan people from getting COVID from non-Japanese tourists, which is working great, I should say. Perfect. Great job, Japan. Anyways, this article is super long. It's just like about how do people catch COVID? And it's like what you thought knew about contagious diseases was wrong. And they interview a specialist in contagious diseases who talks about how these diseases spread, which I feel like it's kind of a little late for this at this point. Japan, you had 2.5 years to figure this out. Why are we just now starting to put out articles about how COVID-19 spreads? Yeah, I am confused. Yeah, I'm confused. Now, let's go on to the second story. So if the first story was an actual kind of important news story, albeit really, really late, the second story is a complete and total nothing burger. And I mean this in the biggest sense of the word. It's a story about Itano Tomomi, yes, the former AKB48 member, hang out at Shonan Beach down south of Tokyo in Kanagawa Prefecture. Shonan Beach is known for its it's kind of like Tokyo's short tropical getaway. I guess you could say it's like Tokyo's Coney Island, I guess. But for the most part, a lot of the people that go there are like kind of like young, not necessarily hip, but kind of like grungy young people. They're all Yankees and gyaru and stuff, like to go hang out there. So Itano Tomomi fits in perfectly, even though she's like 31 now. So yeah, she went to the beach and she posted a bunch of pictures on Instagram. Nothing risque, I should say. I'm not really sure why AKB is all of a sudden in the news again. Albeit like not the current AKB, but like all the past members are suddenly getting their day in the sun here. Literally, in the case of Itano Tomomi. So this article is like 2 paragraphs long. It's like she's the wife of a Yakult Swallows player, and then they give you another paragraph about like all the comments from her fans saying that she's cute, and her one piece is cute, and she's very cute. Yes, those sorts of comments. Very exciting. So let's move on to that second row of news stories. Look at the number 3 at least is kind of a news story, or at least very least interesting. It's the Koshien finals today. Koshien is, of course, the national high school baseball tournament that's been going on since, I think, the post-war, maybe even before the war. And it's probably the biggest sporting event in Japan every year. It's where all like the top high school teams from all over the country get together for a big old a big old high school tournament, and then the star players of this tournament normally go on to become like star players in professional baseball, like Hideki Matsui, Ichiro Suzuki, and all those guys kind of got their big starts. They got their first taste of the limelight during this tournament, and today, actually starting right now as I record this, is the grand final for the 104th High School Koshien Summer Tournament. So actually that means that it's been going since before the war. So sorry about that. I probably should have done my research there. It's a big deal. Good luck to all those players playing in that. It's crazy because whenever a team loses, like they all cry, and it's like, oh, look at how much these guys cared. And yeah, it's the Koshien, the stadium itself is like the mecca of baseball in Japan, quote unquote, even though it's like a pretty bad stadium. But that's my own personal opinion. Anyways, story number 4 is a summary of a Terebi Asahi TV show. Yes, I know. It's an article. They gussed it up by saying that this actor named Suzuka Oji was the guest on this show, and the MC, who's also an actress, Tanaka Minami, was impressed by his insightfulness because he's like 22 or whatever. And I guess the other big news story from this article is that he wants his other name, his adana, his nickname, he wants it to be Otan, which all the women on the show thought was cute. And that is a news story in Japan. It's just a summary of a show that was on yesterday. But that is news. Okay, so now that we've gotten through all the 4 fluff pieces, let's look at the actual news headlines that normally get buried here. Today, story number 1 is about a bus that crashed and caught on fire on a Nagoya freeway. It affected traffic all the way heading out towards the airport there. And it was a bus that was leaving Sakai heading for Nagoya airport, and it crashed, caught fire, and 2 people died. And there's nice pictures for this article, which is kind of a rarity on these line news articles. And yep, that bus is definitely on fire. It's on its side, it's on fire, it's all burnt to a crisp. Yep, I'm surprised more people didn't die, to be honest here. So it's a tough story, I guess. So thankfully only 2 people died. I guess, well, it sucks for those 2 people, but could have been worse. Traffic looks like it's been affected there. Article number 2. It's not a Japanese news story, and I'm not really sure how much of this is even news, but it's an article about how the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty team, wants Russia to be careful about the nuclear power plants that it's occupying in the Ukraine war, the invasion of Ukraine that it's doing there. And there's really no news out of this article. It's just like, oh yeah, they want the Russia to be careful, and then that's it. There's no actual like comments or anything about that. It's just a really, really short little two paragraph blurb about this. So I guess that's one of the top news stories. You'd think they'd include the Prime Minister getting COVID on this top 3 news stories of the day list, but I guess not. Story number 3. A 2-year-old goes missing from their house in Toyama Prefecture. Yeah, there's a 2... Toyama's the north of Tokyo. And I guess a 2-year-old went missing on the 21st, or the night of the 20th. So 2 days ago. And they don't know where they went, and they've organized searches for this kid. This kid's name is Takashima Reon. Yeah, Takashima Reon. And it's a 2-year-old went missing. There's this neighborhood searching. They can't find him. Her? Yeah, it's a her, I think. It's not good. If you know anything, I'm not sure why one of my listeners on this here segment would know anything about this. They want you to please call the hotline they have set up, the 0766230110. Please don't prank call these people. Hopefully the kid turns up all right. Normally in Japan, this means that some crazy person has abducted the kid and is like raising the kid to be his perverted thing. But a lot of times it also just means they fell into like a river. And not either situation is not good. So hopefully this kid turns up and just playing with Totoro or something. All right, so those are the news stories for today. A short day, I guess. Not necessarily the most newsy of days, but that's what happens with Line News. So until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/smallinjapan, or find me on Twitter, Stefan_Tetsu, or find the show on Twitter, small_in_Japan. Until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. I am Stefan. Stay safe, stay cool. Until next time, bye-bye!